right, let's do it. All right, welcome to Beers with Nigel. It's a podcast about beer and other things. We got a couple of special guests tonight, along with Nick, because you're always special. So Nick's here as usual.
My mommy tells me.
Good. But we've got Marcus J. Baskerville from Weathered Souls Brewing out of San Antonio, Texas, a great brewery. I'm repping. You see, I'm repping the hat.
That's what
I'm saying, dude. I met him at Fresh Fest last year. He was a great guy. The brewery's amazing. I love what they're doing. He's doing a special project now. We'll get into that. We also have on the call is Tony DiPlacito of Windshift Brewing right here in the Kansas City area, Blue Springs, Missouri. We just got through doing Marcus's recipe on Saturday. We'll talk about that. And hopefully, since Tony let me help with the brew dad and screw it up. So there's that. So Marcus, welcome to the show, man. It's good to see you. Have you. Tell us a little bit about your history, how you got into craft beer.
Yeah, so I got into craft beer straight out of competition. My brother, I have an older brother, 7 years older than me, and he had got like a Mr. Beer kit for Christmas for my sister, and ended up brewing the beer, and it came out horrible. So then it was like one of those things like, well, I could brew better beer than you. And so we actually ended up doing a few beers together, and then I moved to San Antonio about maybe a year after that. Kept home brewing. And in the point of doing that, started bringing my beer to like local bars, restaurants, breweries when things actually started tasting good.
Right.
So from there, I ended up getting like an assistant brewing job at another local place. Kind of learned so more what not to do than what to do. Wasn't really happy with what I was doing there because it was like one of those situations where you didn't really get to branch out, try new things, have some little fun. It was more brew our core recipes, and that's that. So from there, I had met my current business partner, and we were basically out drinking one night, and I was like, when are we going to open a brewery? And he was like, I've been waiting for you to ask me that. And
all the business ideas.
Yeah, we literally started working on the business plan the next day.
How long ago was that?
So we will be open 4 years in November.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So we always ask everybody who comes on the show, when you think about craft beer, because we debate on when the word craft came about, what was the first craft or maybe premium beer that you remember drinking that you were like, oh, this is different than the macros?
So at the time we had a Pyramid Brewery in Sacramento. So I guess you would consider at that time, first craft beer would have been probably Pyramid Hef. Outside of that, is probably Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Right on. So you lived in Sacramento as well, huh?
Yeah, I'm originally from Rancho Cordova, which is like a Sacramento suburb. So, I didn't move to Texas until about 8 years ago. Yeah,
Sacramento's got a great beer scene.
Yes.
One of my buddies lived there, and he's a wine guy. I went out there. He had no idea there was like 3 breweries, like 3 blocks from his house. I was like, oh, this. I loved it. I thought Sacktown was great, man. It was. I think one of the first ones I went to there was New Helvetia.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was like the closest one to his house, like 2 blocks. You could just walk to it. And I thought they did good beers, but pretty cool town. Pretty cool town. What's the
Sacramento has some good beer.
Yeah, what's the San Antonio brew scene like?
It's emerging, kind of still new. Let's see, we're the first brewery in San Antonio to do like the hazy IPAs, pastry stouts, like super like fruited kettle sours, stuff like that. Outside of that, San Antonio is more of a traditional feel when it comes to the beer. Right. More everyday drinking traditional beers because it's so hot and humid here. This was actually considered a Dos Equis town. So within the last few years, it's obviously starting to transition. We're still a few years behind the rest of the current beer scene, but there has been some new breweries popping up over the last 2 to a year that should be pushing San Antonio along a little bit.
What's the numbers of breweries now there?
I think we're at 18.
Oh, wow. That's,
it's 18 to 20. And you figure San Antonio is the 7th largest city in the United States.
Yeah.
So, I mean, on the grand scheme of things, that's not that many at all.
That's a surprising number to me.
People think Kansas City's, overblown. Hell, you lived in Sacramento. Sacramento's got hella breweries.
Exactly.
And have been there for years. You know what I'm saying? So I think, Tony, what do we have? 50 in Kansas City now, maybe?
Yeah, we're getting pretty close. Yeah.
So, but I'm like, you don't know until you go to some of these other cities.
What do you think kind of sparked that growth though, that for it to happen? You said you're only about 20 now, but what kind of made it start happening? Was there a catalyst somewhere?
So we're kind of the forefront of like the new school for San Antonio. So I can say that we have influenced a few breweries as far as some of the styles that they're starting to produce here. Even some of the older breweries that weren't making certain styles after they seen how well we were doing them have started producing them themselves. But also I think people see the gap in San Antonio and the lack of the amount of beer that it currently has. So, there's been a few people that have wanted to raise to the occasion and open up something new here.
Are you seeing more restaurants and tap rooms like start serving more of the craft beers alongside all the Dos Equis, Millers?
A lot of the big restaurants here have started getting more into the like local craft beer. So we've seen that transition, and it's actually gone well for us. So even before we got into distribution, so we're signed to Silver Eagle now, but for the first 3 years we did self-distro. And our self-distro, between my sales manager and her employee at the time, they had us in about 110 locations.
Wow.
And some of those were super major restaurants, bars, stuff like that. So, we're in like the Papa Dough family locations all over San Antonio.
That's awesome.
We're in most of the BJ's, 54th Street, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we've even Hooters and a couple others have reached out recently. So dealing with like our West Coast IPA, for instance, we have the more popular IPA in town. Our West Coast IPA before pre-pandemic was outselling all IPAs in town 3-1.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
You're just now approaching 4 years and that kind of growth. That's pretty exciting.
Keeps me busy for sure.
Yeah. Trust me, Tony knows all about that.
Yeah, pretty much for the last 4 years. I've been the only brewer. We just hired an assistant brewer. I guess he's been here for 3 months now. So like we hired him a week before the pandemic started.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it's been a little bit of transition to like release some of these duties off, but we obviously need the help right now. So
what was that like? I mean, you hire somebody right before, the world falls, right? So
yeah, it had him worried for a while, but my whole thing was if we were to have to fire everybody tomorrow, God forbid, the only person that's going to be left are the brewers. So, I mean, he didn't really have anything too much to worry about.
Did you guys have to make some changes in what you were doing to stay afloat?
Yeah. So, luckily, the city of San Antonio and the local cities around us have shown an amazing amount of support. We've actually, as far as like to-go sales, have been better during the pandemic than they were pre-pandemic. So, I mean, the thing that we mostly lost out on was distribution, which was big because I was brewing about 80 to 100 barrels of our West Coast a month. But outside of that, at least these small batches have made up for it. So we're running through, anywhere from 5 to 10 barrels of beer within 5 minutes on a Friday. So,
wow.
I mean, we can't complain too much.
Hey, let's talk about the brewery. Weathered Souls, the name. I read about it, but give the people where that name came from.
Yeah, it's more of a ode to my business partner, grandfather and father. You kind of weathered the storm, been through a lot, and have raised to the occasion. So it's an ode to his family members.
Sweet. So you're drinking a beer. Everybody here recently, we drink beers on this show. People want to know, what beers are you drinking? So tell people what you're drinking right now from Weathered Souls.
So I'm drinking a Thrifty Drip. It's one of our hazy IPAs, Southern Patterson, Citra, I think a little bit of Mosaic. I know there's some Nelson in there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, you start producing so much beers, you start forgetting what's in.
So, Tony, what are you drinking over there, man?
I'm drinking Diametrics. Goes back to Cali.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah. And we've got, Kansas City's world champions in football. You know that, right? So we got TD Tossin, Patrick Mahazy. From one of the local breweries here. So
he doesn't seem to be as happy as we are.
Well, there's no football team in San Antonio, so there's that. I mean,
Again, I'm from California, so.
Are you a Raiders fan?
No, if I had to choose a football team, it would probably be the Niners, but I'm mostly a basketball fan.
Who's your team?
I'm a Laker fan.
Oh, I hear you, man. I am too.
My entire family dad's side of the family is from LA. So
what part?
Watts, Compton.
Okay, right on. I lived in LA for 10 years, man.
No, okay. My grandma still lives on the laundry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's very cool. Now their beer scene has changed, man. When I lived there 10 years ago, it was
there weren't any breweries there.
Yeah, now it's crazy how
LA is
big
picking
it got.
up for sure.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
I was a Lakers fan in the 80s, but there's only one reason. I mean, like, we're from Kansas City. We didn't really have anybody to root for.
You had the Kings back in the day.
My mom tells me I went to a game, but I don't remember it, so I don't count it. But the only reason I decided to root for the Lakers is because in the 80s, my brothers rooted for the Celtics. I mean, is there any better reason to choose a team, right, than your brother?
Hey, let's talk about, being a person of color. You're one of a handful of head brewers that are black. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. How was it coming up for you? Because obviously, you're it's an anomaly. I mean, what's that been? What's that experience been like for you?
In all honesty, I've been fortunate. I haven't had not one issue getting into the beer industry from when I was a consumer. What was that? 13 years ago to being in the industry now, and especially because so basically, like, my brewing path, I have some traditional training from some traditional old school brewers, but then I'm also part of that new school where we're doing the fun stuff,
right?
But for me, just based off of the people that have mentored me and shown love from the jump. So, like, Mike Mraz from Mraz Brewing Company in El Dorado Hills, he had a Brothers in Beer. I don't know if let me backtrack. So,
okay.
Dealing with, when we were consumers, we were pushing for equality and people of color way back then. So, 10 years ago, when I first hopped on Instagram, we had Brothers in Beer, which is this image back here. So, Brothers in Beer had started way back when. It was me and my brother and my cousin, and it was basically, on the homebrew level, consumer level, basically creating inclusion for people of color within the brewing industry. That took away from when I moved to San Antonio. My cousin and brother got kind of lazy with it, and it kind of just fell off. But then that the for instance, the Brothers in Craft Beer group, right, that originally stemmed from that picture right there.
Gotcha.
Jimmy used to follow me years ago, and that's how he ended up coming out with that group. So me, my brother, and my cousin are like the forefathers for the inclusive stuff for the new school people of color that are currently in the industry. A lot of people don't know it because I don't talk about it.
Right, gotcha.
But outside of that, way back then, for instance, we used to go to Russian River, went to Younger, for instance, had the entire bar chanting Brothers in Beer. Mike Mraz was a huge supporter of it. We had a Brothers in Beer Black IPA when Black IPAs were like a thing. Right. So that's how we first started out. So from there, after going into consumer, I pretty much started volunteering at Mike's place, different things like that. Even when I moved to Texas, being a craft beer fan, I'm going to Jester King. So at Jester, I'm first in line for an Atrio release. Got to meet Jeff. Told him I'm a home brewer, that type of thing. He started sampling beers, and we developed kind of a friendship from there. So even he's been a huge mentor for the fact he helped guide us into opening a brew pub versus a brewery. Has introduced me to a lot of people. But in all honesty, my whole thing has always been, if you make great beer, it really doesn't matter what color you are.
That's
people
true.
People are going to support you anyway. I mean, obviously, you know, there's a few strays that don't feel that way.
Right.
But the majority of craft beer, to me, I think we're in the most inclusive industry. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, when you look at the percentages, okay, there's 5,000 breweries and then there's 60 black breweries. Okay.
Right.
So that number is way off skew, right?
Right.
But if you want to get in the industry, nobody is stopping any of us from getting in the industry.
True.
And, you know, and for me, I've had nothing but garnered support from everybody that I've ever been involved with in the brewing industry. So, I mean, for that, I mean, my brewing path and career has been amazing so far.
Right.
One of the, you know, I kind of to link this to all the broader conversations that we're all talking about as a country, though, as you talk about, okay, there's nobody really or nothing really blocking more people of color to come into the industry, but should there still at the same time be more of inviting people of color into the industry? I mean, is that still something?
So what I think that it is because the industry is predominantly white male, people make the assumption that it's not inclusive. But, you know, outside of the assumptions, it's way far from that.
Right.
You know, just generally from the people that I've seen, the people that support the stuff. I mean, you look at the Black is Beautiful initiative. We've had almost 700 breweries sign on in 2 weeks.
Right.
There's no other industry in the entire world that's doing something at this magnitude that we're doing with the Black is Beautiful initiative. The brewing industry is doing that. So, I mean, to say that it's not inclusive or it doesn't support certain aspects is completely false. Like I said, you know, there's obviously strays and, you know, being in certain parts of the United States where it's still not that of, you know, accepting for Black business owners, because I've seen that situation. Yes, it can definitely be an issue. But for the majority of the brewing industry, it's very inclusive.
Yeah, because I'm you know, I work at 2 breweries and it's nothing but love. And even Kansas, wherever I go, it's, you know, most breweries, everybody's cool. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm with you. It's pretty inclusive, you know, but we always talk about sometimes if you don't know about it, unless I teach you how, you know, to know about craft, if you're not exposed to it, how are you supposed to know? So, you know, that's
what, you know, a lot of the new school people of color that are in the industry have to do. You know, it's that you receive that information, go ahead and teach one. And that's something that I've always done as somebody that's in the industry. So even, you know, on my brew floor, for instance, I have 3 people of color on my brew floor.
That's
now,
awesome.
2 of them might look white, but they're actually, you know, they're actually, like, one of them's half Puerto Rican. I think the other one's half Mexican. But either way, you know, it takes all of us to be able to support the initiative and inclusion and bringing people in. Absolutely. And I think as people understand that you know, the craft beer industry is not as Caucasian as people think it is, then more people of color, more Black people and stuff like that will start filtering in.
You know, it's, and I feel like I talk about Fresh Fest every show, right? Because that blew my mind.
Because you're going to get a sponsorship for us.
Let's hope. I mean, you know, for me, you know, because Kansas City beer scene is pretty white. But to go to Fresh Fest and the symposium and going to the festival, I was like, I had no idea there was that many Black people in the beer. I mean, it was a watershed moment for me. What did you think when you went? Did you go to the first year?
Oh, it was amazing. So, I mean, I obviously signed on for this year. So I thought the festival was amazing. The reception and the amount of people that was there was great.
Yeah.
You know, to highlight people of color and the other Black breweries that typically don't get highlighted. I mean, just like me and Kenny at Hop Culture, we were having a conversation not too long ago. And, you know, the industry might not be non-inclusive, but you look at these big beer festivals, you know, these hype brewery festivals and different things like that, it tends not to be a lot of minority breweries involved in it whatsoever. And so these breweries aren't getting their name out there. They're not getting the shine that some of them should be.
Right.
I mean, I'll be honest, like there should have been a couple festivals I felt we should have been in that we weren't in. But, you know, outside of that, you know, I think pushing those type of initiatives and pushing for inclusion in those ways are also going to help. So Fresh Fest definitely, you know, is at the forefront of that as far as the path that it's taking to start highlighting some of these breweries.
Yeah.
I don't know the scene at all. How hard is it to get into the bigger brew fests?
Well, when I say like the bigger ones, I'm talking about more of the like hype brewery beer festivals, and most of those tend to be these breweries have kind of garnered their friendships with large groups and stuff like that, which is fine. But sometimes you got to start highlighting other people.
Yeah. I just didn't know what that process was like to fill out applications or whatever. I mean, is it like art festivals where you got to get judged to get in, or
pay your $25?
Right. Yeah. I didn't know what that was like at all to try to grow your brewery awareness, your market brand, and get in there.
And Marcus, as these two cats will tell you, I've been repping you guys because literally, as much beer as I drank at Fresh Fest, I was blown away by what you guys did. The stouts, I was like. I kept coming back. I said I hung out at y'all's little spot. What style? What's your favorite style to brew? Do you have a style that you like to brew?
My favorite, probably my favorite style would probably be stouts.
Okay.
Just because of the amount of different things that we typically do with them. But my favorite will probably be our French press series, which is the single coffee series that we do. So basically, we do like a milk stout base and then pair it with a single origin coffee from a different country each time, and then create a flavor profile based on a famous dessert from that country.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm in.
That's super cool.
Sold.
You sold.
Those would probably be my favorite. So
gotcha. Let's take a little short break so we can give Nick looks thirsty. So
I'm always thirsty.
I'm gonna get the golf bag.
You said how your business plan came over drinks. That's exactly how this podcast.
Yeah, that's at 9 a.m. drinking coffee with whiskey,
drinking bourbon coffees.
Yes.
All right, what do we got in here?
I have no idea.
I'm gonna say too, I love the Weathered Souls logo.
Thank you.
And it's almost like a little bit like you crossed the S from the Seattle Mariners and the King from Sacramento. I like it. It's good.
It's a terrible description.
Take a look at it.
I mean,
it's the King's logo.
I know the hat. That is not the King's logo.
No, it's definitely not the King's logo. I'm not a King's fan in the slightest.
That's what I'm saying. You offended him. What do you got there, Nick?
There we go. We got a Vanessa House Beer Company. It's a coffee I'm old. Coffee maple syrup or maple stout ale. Crow's Nest is what it's called.
Okay, crack that open.
Crack it open.
So that brewery's out of Oklahoma City.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
It's actually that brewery actually has a minority owner as well. One as a brother part of the minority group. So or part of the group. So but they do some really cool beers. They actually started out. They had almost like a place in Oklahoma City where for the folks, the brewers who couldn't afford a brewery. So there were like 5 or 6 breweries in this co-op, and they just brewed, their beers, but they were still distributing. But now Vanessa House was able to get their own spot in downtown Oklahoma City, and they do some really cool stuff.
Nice.
I love the play off the Denny's logo.
That looks like a Denny's logo for sure.
I'm surprised we haven't got a few cease and desist.
So let's talk about Black is Beautiful, because like I said, Tony and I.
And that is breakfast tea.
No, that's good. That's good beer right there.
That's breakfast beer.
Mm-hmm. So that recipe and that idea, it was was it 3M? That's when you thought of? Is that what happened?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, let's start at the beginning. What is the Black is Beautiful?
Yeah, go ahead and give us the story.
Yeah. So pretty much what the Black is Beautiful initiative is a call to, at this point, it's worldwide. I think we're in 14, 15 different countries. So a worldwide collaboration amongst all the breweries to participate in the stout. And that stout, the proceeds basically go to police brutality reform and legal fees. And so what the goal of the stout is basically to support equality, inclusion, raise conversation amongst breweries and their communities. As far as how the process came about, I was kind of disappointed in myself for not participating in the local protests that happened in San Antonio the first weekend. And so I was trying to think of a way as a Black business owner, how I could try to give back, how I can try to participate. And so originally I was going to come out with the Black is Beautiful beer, just a stout on our own. In the process of that, I was having a race relations conversation with Jeff from Jester King earlier that day, and I sent him the label. And so basically he challenged me to make it bigger than that, to turn it into a collaboration.
Wow.
So I spent basically all night coming up with a mission statement. Once I had a mission statement that I felt spoke what I wanted the goal to be, and I spent the rest of the night writing the initiative. So got up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, came to the brewery, and just spent the next literal 7 hours writing out this initiative, writing the recipe, getting the label situated. And then I think Kevin sent me, Kevin Dyer, who did the label, sent me the label, I think 4 minutes before my meeting. And I was like, all right, basically to my business partner, my sales manager, and my bar manager, this is what we're going to do. And we're going to post this within the next couple of hours.
Yeah.
So one thing that we've always done here is not go out and pay for promotion and different things like advertisement and stuff like that. So to see us almost hit 700 breweries just based off of organic sharing and posting, other breweries wanting to get involved, has been amazing so far.
Without actually reading your mission statement, what is your goal? What I guess what's the thing you're trying to say? If this is how you're going to use your voice during this discussion, what are you trying to say?
So basically, what this goal is to bring about conversation, right? Obviously, the beer in itself is a wonderful thing, but this initiative isn't just about the beer. The beer is getting the message out, but we need to continue past that, right? Because once the beer comes out, then people are going to forget about it in a few months, and then the conversation stops. But what the goal is, and what my thought process was as far as people donating locally, that's now opening discussions and conversations amongst these breweries with their local community. That's making those local breweries a voice for their local communities and people of color and different things like that. So typically, as people of color, we don't have many entities of people supporting us and our voice as far as what we want. There's always that rebuttal, always that but, something along those lines. So with this initiative, now we have basically a large group of people that are showing support for their communities. And what the goal is hopefully that these breweries go ahead and implement programs within themselves. So Fremont, for instance, they started doing, they're going to implement equality classes for their staff. And there's some breweries offering internships and different things like that. And that's what the most important aspect is the inclusion and the equality, and basically creating a form of respect for their community and the people of color there.
Right. We're up to 7 here in Kansas City. They're going to do it, but I've heard from several other brewers that are planning on doing it. And it just so happens we've got one of the brewers here, Tony DiPlacito of Windshift Brewing. So Tony, just to get you to chime in, when you heard about it, and what were your thoughts and what made you want to get involved?
Lynn and I had kind of talked a little bit about what we could do. We always have a monthly charity to support the community, but this is a much bigger. I think we all feel enough is enough, and it's time to start doing something. And it was actually Ryan Triggs over at Kansas Hop Company who found this, and he sent me the link, and instantly it was yeah, this is something we want to get involved with. We'd already reached out to Race Project KC to see, what we could do, and we thought about brewing something for that. But this is much bigger, and like Marcus said, this is raising the conversation globally, and a lot of change needs to happen. And I like you said, hopefully it continues after this beer's gone. I mean, I think we're going to get a little bit more reach this way.
Yeah.
I like that you're actually, Marcus, kind of linking it to other things though, where money is going to something, right? So people are instituting programs. It goes beyond the conversation, because I think when we talk to people, right, you can go to a rally, you can speak up, and you can make a beer, but what's next? And so I think that's interesting that you when you came up with this, you thought of the what's next.
Yeah, I know that even based on, I have some friends that are like in the financial industry, and one of them texted me yesterday and was saying that based off all the breweries involved, even doing a 5-barrel batch, if they were to donate 100% of the proceeds, we're almost at about $3.5 to $4 million worth of donations.
Right.
So just to be able to split that amount of money locally amongst different organizations and different things that are going to support their communities, like that's amazing.
That's fantastic.
What was your reaction when everybody's started jumping on board? It was probably crazy, wasn't it?
It was. Originally, my goal was like to have like 150, 200 breweries maybe that got involved. I mean, like people know who we are, but people don't know who we are.
Right.
So once we passed that 200 in 2 days, I was like, all right, I think this is actually going to be something that's going to grow and people are going to go on to. So my goal right now, I think we're almost at 700. Today marks 2 weeks. So my goal is to try to at least get to 9. We'll see what happens.
So
I do know that I had a good conversation with the Brewers Association today. They're going to be showing their full support as of Wednesday. So being said that, them reaching other breweries, people that might not know about us, their 40,000, newsletter platform that should also help get the word out and hopefully some more breweries sign on.
So all these breweries are going to send you the beer, right?
I hope so. Right?
We're going to send some.
You said you kind of started playing with the idea because you felt a little bad that you didn't go to the rallies that first weekend when things started. Does seeing everyone jump on board and you see people like Tony, who's 8-hour drive away from you, 9-hour drive away from you, that are doing? I mean, does that make you feel a little better? Does that ease some of?
It's been a very humbling experience for sure. Just the amount of people that want to support the initiative, the amount of people that have just reached out and support in general, because it's been very overwhelming. Me and my sales manager has been running this whole thing outside of Stout Collective and Stout Collective helping out with the website, maintaining that and stuff. But anything outside of that, it's been pretty much me and my sales manager. So it's been very overwhelming these last 2 weeks, especially the first week. We pretty much weren't sleeping. It was just literally seriously, it was just literally response after response after response.
You launched a whole other business.
Yeah, interview after interview after interview. And even at this point, I think this week I still have about 8 interviews already set up. So the momentum's still there, everything's still going, but it's been a very overwhelming, very humbling experience for sure. And I just have to keep I just keep telling myself that this isn't for me, so we'll ride it out as long as we can ride it out.
But the great thing about this is it's not for you, but at the same time, it is for you. Your heart is in the right place, so you're gonna reap a whole bunch of shit out of this. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen.
That's not.
I know that's not. I know that's not the goal, but
out to do collaborations and stuff like that. Which is cool.
That's not the goal.
Especially like some of my bucket list collaborations, But at the end of the day, and with just like for instance, we have the campaign starting with Custom Ink today, right? Mm. So all of the merchandise is available on Custom Ink for the Black is Beautiful. And basically what they did was a fundraiser. So once they meet their minimum, and I think it's like 17 shirts or something like that, then all of the money past that, a certain amount gets donated to the Know Your Rights camp. So even then, originally they had our logo and stuff like that on the merchandise, and I had to remove it. I mean, it's not about the brewery. Yeah,
right. So
we'll sell some Black is Beautiful merch at the brewery that will have our logo on it. But the overall message is much deeper than that, more important than that. So I've tried to not make it about me or the brewery at all.
Sure.
The forefront and the catalyst of getting this started.
What kind of things is Custom Ink putting out there?
Oh, I got to choose everything. So
nice.
So great quality sweatshirts. So Champion sweatshirt, Champion t-shirts. We ended up getting a New Era snapback. And then there's a running joke that I'm always in, like flip-flop slides. So we got, so we got some Black is Beautiful slides too.
Sweet. So when is that stuff available so people can go?
It's available now.
Oh, everybody get the Custom Ink.
Posted posted the link on our Facebook page and I think Instagram, and people can go ahead and start purchasing.
Cool. You ready for another beer? Oh, you haven't drank that one beer. He's busy talking. Sorry.
I was busy talking. I was listening. Look, hearing people tell stories is what I do.
Yeah.
There's nothing better. So
Marcus, one of my things here in Kansas City is, trying to get some, and we kind of touched on this earlier, trying to get some more color in some of these tap rooms, right? And we did I Am Craft. Shalonda, when she started that business, Afro Beer Chick, we did one of those events here. All the breweries were down about it and that sort of thing. But now it's time for action. So, anytime I get on one of these podcasts, I'm like, okay, I'm always picking brains. How do we broach or reach out to people of color, say, hey, there's this in your neighborhood or things like that. What's it been like for you to, because I'm not even sure.
I'll give you a story about how I am into regards to that. And you guys can kind of take from it. So, how I am into regards of people of color, Black people in the craft beer. Again, it's you gotta teach people, right? You gotta promote it. You gotta push them in it. So when I first moved out here, I think for literally 9 months, I didn't see not one Black person drink craft beer, right? So I'm in HEB doing grocery shopping, that type of thing. And finally, I see a Black person in the craft beer aisle looking at craft beer, right? And he probably thought I was like stalking him or something, that I was going to try to hit on him or something. Because I'm like sitting there like looking to see what he gets, right? So they kind of judge his palate from there. Like, all right, is he going to grab some good beer? Is he going to, let's see. So I sit there and watch him, grab everything, I finish up. So we had just so happened to get in the same aisle. So I know really then, like, he probably thought I was stalking his ass. So then I finally introduced myself and told him, I was like, my name is Marcus, been heavily into craft beer for a long time. At that point, I was already in the planning of opening the brewery. So, I'm in the process of opening the brewery. I don't see too many brothers drink beer around here, that type of thing. We ended up exchanging numbers. I took him to his first bottle share. And now that dude is almost deeper into craft beer than I am.
Is that right?
As far as like the training, yeah. He's all into the trading and razzles and driving halfway across the country for bottle releases.
Oh, shit. What was he picking up from HEB?
Yeah.
What did he have in his cart when you met him?
And it just so happened from a conversation in HEB.
And what did he have in his cart?
I can't even tell you. I think at that time it was like what we had out here was like Founders and Great Divide and stuff that. I figure this is like 6 years ago. So
what's your demographic of your tap room? What do you see in there?
My tap room is mostly middle-aged Caucasian male and middle-aged Caucasian women. But we have the younger crowd that comes through too. There's a new brewery. They're newer. They've been open almost 2 years, called Isla Street. They've been bringing in a lot more of the Hispanic culture now.
Oh wow!
Just because of the vibe of the brewery that they have, super Mexican brewery. Everything they do is Mexican, that type of stuff. So they've been bringing in that culture, and then actually since the initiative, I've been seeing more Black people than I've ever seen strolling into our brewery.
I love it.
I think, like over the weekend, I've probably seen about 50 Black people.
I love it.
To our location, and it was just based off of catching the one of the local interviews. So I think it's going to start to shift, and we'll see a little bit of difference going forward.
That's cool.
You've been doing a ton of interviews. Have you done a lot of local ones there in San Antonio?
Yeah, I've done a lot of interviews, period. Yeah. We've done a few local, Austin, Houston, that type of stuff. But we've hit all the local news channels here. We've done CNN, Forbes, Lish, Food and Wine. So yeah, it's been good. I know the Brewers Association said they're gonna start reaching out to some of their media platforms. So, hopefully the initiative just keeps growing from here.
Well, look, good on you for the inspiration, man. Because like I said, it's resonated here in Kansas City, and we got it. Because at least here in Kansas City, we've got 3 female head brewers, and one of the breweries is owned by a female. So
nice.
So they're really on the forefront of trying.
San Antonio, we have 2.
2 females.
Kunstler Brewing, that's owned by Vera. She's a German-inspired brewery, and then Cactus Land It's Erica and her husband Dustin, but we all know that Erica does all the good beer.
We're just going to send that clip right to her.
So what was the inspiration for the recipe of the Black is Beautiful beer? Was there inspiration behind that?
We do more pastry stuff, but I figured, for the mass consumption of a 10% stout during summer, a lot of people aren't going to want a heavy pastry stout. So I tried to create a more balanced beer with still the high ABV. And then if people want to turn it more into the dessert pastry style, then they can go ahead and do that. So we left it. Basically, I try to create a style that's basically an open canvas, and then everybody has their paintbrush to go ahead and change it however they want to go ahead and change it.
Tony was asking me, what should we put in there? I said, let's find some buckwheat honey, but we couldn't find it.
So I'm waiting to see like some of the creative stuff that occurs. Like I was in the group chat for the answer, and I think one of theirs, I can't really say what they're putting in it, but one of theirs is probably one of the most excited that I'm about. And I can't wait to see like what some of these other people start putting out as far as the beer goes.
I know nothing about brewing and about brew recipes. First off, y'all are way too big of math nerds and chemistry nerds for me. But how do you come up with a recipe? They're like, I want to get a good recipe, but I want to leave it open. I want to leave a little bit of room for everybody else to play with. That seems hard to me. And again, I know nothing.
As far as recipe development, it kind of depends. So if you're choosing a more classic style, you kind of already have a guide to what you're going to use as far as the grain goes. For us, I have about 4 different stout bases that I use depending on what I'm trying to achieve. So I've gotten pretty good at producing, recipes for stouts. So this was more so something where people can hit that super black color that I love. They still implement the longer boils. It's still going to be that mid to full body stout that people want that full body chewy viscosity to. But then also the actual just malt profile is pretty much open. So you're going to get some of those chocolate characteristics, obviously from the chocolate malt, a little roasted character from the black malt, but nothing is overbearing. So it leaves that kind of openness for people to go ahead and start implementing other things into the beer.
Well, when we were doing it Saturday, and Tony will attest, we were like, oh, this is going to be good.
Good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. We did molasses.
That'll be good.
Yeah, I think.
So we got 3 variations coming out. We did a base version where we're not going to add anything to it. We did a version with our homies at Isla Street. That's going to be pecans, caramel, and sugar cookies.
Oh, wow.
And then we're doing a Rwandan coffee and hazelnut version. So one of our most popular beers ever was a beer called Rwandan French Press. So basically, we're going to recreate that with the Black is Beautiful recipe. And we have some single source Rwandan coffee that just arrived today that we'll be using for it.
Do you remember?
Which is kind of cool because we had a brewery in Rwanda sign on for.
I saw that. I was
that's
like,
awesome.
That's crazy.
Is that crazy to you to see? I mean, to see this, all of this stuff is happening not just here in the States, but I mean, you look around, you watch the news. There are rallies and protests and conversations about this happening everywhere,
all around the world.
And it needs to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't know Rwanda had a beer scene, to be honest
I
with
didn't
you.
either. Yeah, when that signed on, I was like, man.
They got to take a trip now.
Tony, how much did you let Nigel just have free reign to come make this one, or do you keep him on a tight leash?
Disclaimer, though. So Marcus, I've been in a homebrew group for 10 years, right? I've never brewed at home. I ain't never had no kit. The only place I've brewed, because I've got all these friends who've opened breweries, they're like, you want to brew a beer? Well, I got ideas. Yeah, hell
so
yeah.
That means you've gone to people's house and drink all day.
Yes, so you know the deal. I'm like quality assurance.
He just described this entire podcast.
Exactly.
Did you give him free reign, Tony?
I did, yeah.
Is that scary?
No, Nigel's been in the brew house 3-4 times now.
Well, the funny thing is, he's like, I've never brewed a beer. Well, we just did a beer that was inspired by Other Half Brewing. So,
okay. You did they all together?
Yeah.
No. When I went to that pastry town in March.
Okay.
That pastry, that ridiculous beer festival with wrestling. And so they had oat cream IPAs, and I'd never heard of them. So I came back and told Tony, I'm like, you ever heard of this? He's like, nope. He's like, let's brew it. So we brewed it. He's like, I've never brewed a beer not knowing what it was going to be like. I just went on your word. I'm like, trust me, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
So we put it out Friday, and people loved it. And if you can get a woman who doesn't even, she came and asked for Bud Light or something.
Yeah.
And I gave her a few tasters, and I gave her that oat cream IPA, and it's 8%. She's like, oh, that's good. And this is a woman that doesn't drink IPAs. So I was like, we're winning right there. You know what I'm saying? So I have ideas. I may not know how to execute it, but I know a guy. So anyway, are you ready for another?
Should we do a mystery?
Yeah, we'll do one more mystery, and we're gonna let, I know Marcus has probably got another interview in like 20 minutes, don't you?
No, I don't have an interview. I got a little over a year ago, we did a collaboration with Claim Steak out of Rancho Cordova. My really good homie, Brian Palmer, they own a brewery there. And so they came down, we did an American barley wine and aged it in Weller 107 and then Weller 12 barrels.
Oh.
So I'm actually getting ready to transfer that to Bright's. And then I'm going home Father's Day weekend to actually go brew at Claim Steak with about 6 or 7 other breweries from Sacramento. They're going to do a huge collaboration brew day for the Black is Beautiful initiative. Oh, man. So in the process of that, I'm also going to be getting about 6 stouts ready for this weekend for a little stout tap takeover that we're going to do at the brewery.
So how big's the brewery? What's your system?
I have a 20-barrel, 3-vessel system.
Damn. How big's your tap room?
Yeah, we have a lot of fermentation space as well. I have 2 20s, 4 40s, 2 40 horizontal lager tanks, 2 7-barrels, 2 2-barrels, 6 1-barrels for like super small batch stuff.
Wow.
I got 2 more 10-barrels coming in that we just purchased since the pandemic. So yeah.
How big's your facility?
It's a decent size. We have a lot of warehouse space.
Okay, got you.
Brew house is kind of compact.
Okay.
But we have a lot of warehouse space.
And how many taps?
What's your tap room like?
Yeah.
So currently we have 13 taps. But we have a partnership with TapRight, where they're showroom brewery. Mm-hmm. So we're actually getting a new tap system implemented within the next month or 2.
More taps?
So I think we're going up to 25 taps.
Nice. Now, where are you? Is your tap room open? How are you guys in San Antonio?
Yeah.
So we're at 50% capacity right now. So we opened up about 2 weeks ago. Still keeping curbside open, but we're allowing people to come inside, and then outside can have 100% capacity. There's no limit.
How has the response been? Are people ready to come back out?
Man, it's crazy because it's like people still need to stay in the house, but the amount of people that have still been flooding into the brewery is crazy. Like this weekend was, like a weekend like we were actually at like full capacity as far as what we made in the tap room. So yeah, it's going pretty well. Yeah, well, I know. I think there has been a few bars and restaurants that have closed back down over the last few weeks because their employees or somebody's gotten COVID. So we've just been trying to manage our best practices. I don't even have my brew door open on the brew floor right now, so I don't have any customer contact. My brewers don't have any customer contact or anything like that.
I feel like, and everybody's probably dealing with this, where everybody's fighting that. I know we should be a little bit more safe still, but man, I'm tired of being inside. I got to get out.
Exactly. And even I had to talk to my wife about that recently because, her and the kids went to the grocery store, and I'm like, you do realize there's a pandemic, right? The kids don't need to be at the store. Well, so, you still have to kind of check yourself and still be cautious with everything going on, because I think people are starting to get a little bit lack because people are ready to get out and people are ready to go back to their regular routines. But, I think we still have a little while to go.
Well, Tony would tell you last weekend he opened up the tap room, and that was the first day I've been back behind the bar in 3 months or whatever, and they were coming for their beer. The beer they were And we're not even doing full hours till next weekend. So we were closing at 8. No, we were there till 11 o'clock. Because they kept coming. I was like, well, Tony's like, well, got to keep the people happy.
Yeah, got to keep it going, right?
Yeah,
well, I think both of them we'll talk about too. I mean, just the to-go orders of the cans have just been crazy.
Yeah. How was that for you guys, Marcus?
Oh, it's been great. My staff is canning anywhere from 400 to 1,200 crowlers in a Friday. That's just Friday. God. So wow. Yeah, things have been great.
I've been asking all the brewers we talked to this is, you compare that your number is it enough? Was the to-go enough?
Yeah.
Did it cover?
Yeah. We didn't have to let any employees go. I want to even say at some point they got a little bonus.
Nice.
I didn't get one, but staff did. So, outside of that, we were able to take care of everybody. We bought 2 new tanks since the pandemic, so for us it hasn't been too bad at all.
That is fantastic that you've not only been weathering the storm.
I know some breweries that have been doing so well during the pandemic that they might not even open their tap room back open.
Yeah, because the goes,
the goes. There's no reason to, and then you have less overhead. You're not paying as many employees, and if you're still selling more beer and they don't have outside distribution, then what's the point of opening the tap room if you can maintain the to-go orders?
I mean, literally, I have 3 breweries within walking distance from my house, so I don't normally keep beer, but I was buying beer just to support the local. And so I got this refrigerator full of beer. I'm like, I need to drink this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. I get that decision, but isn't part of the craft brew are those local tap rooms and
I like to be at the bar. I don't need to be sitting at home drinking. That's no fun.
Yeah.
I'm a people person.
Nigel, you did it.
Look, one last beer. We're gonna let Marcus go. So look, just some historical.
Oh God,
he doesn't like pickles.
The devil's food.
He thinks it's devil's food, but I
don't know why you would ruin a perfectly good
pickle
cucumber.
beer. A pickle beer.
I agree. I'm not a pickle fan either.
So there's that. Is it Martin House in?
Oh yeah, I came out with that pickle beer.
Dude, it was fire, dude.
The dead Armadillo.
Yeah, this
pickle recovery.
Yeah, I think they're out of Oklahoma City as well, or somewhere.
This is not going to be good.
We're gonna get his reaction.
It's crazy because there's like a ongoing joke about San Antonio right now because there's we have 2 different craft beer groups in San Antonio. So there's the influential actual craft beer group where it's mostly people in the group that drink craft. And then it's the everyday consumer that's in the craft beer group. And all they've been ranting and raving about is that pickle beer. And everybody else has been you guys don't know what you're talking about. So.
Well, I told Nigel when we started this, when he came to me and said, I got shit I want to say, I want to show. And then we started talking beer, and I said, I will agree. I will drink. I will try everything, but I'm afraid I'm gonna regret this.
It's not good as the Martin House one, but it's okay.
Okay.
I'm scared. I gotta tell you, I'm a little frightened of this.
If we can get you to throw up on camera, that'd be good.
This is kind of like, is it Jimmy Fallon when they bring the animals on?
Yeah.
This is kind of how I feel right now.
It's not bad. I mean, it's not something I would drink a lot of, but it's, for what it is. I mean, these days, anything goes, right? What's the craziest thing you've done, Marcus? Beer-wise.
I would consider a lot of the stout stuff crazy, but probably the most craziest beer that we did was Mo Pastry, Mo Problems. And then what's crazy is it's one of our high-rated. It's one of our highest-rated beers. Yeah. And so originally it was a troll beer. It was all right, I'm just gonna throw every extra adjunct that we have in this cooler right now in this barrel-aged stout, and we're gonna release it, and it's gonna be a sweet, disgusting mess. And I bet you everybody's gonna like it. And basically, it turned into one of our most popular barrel-aged beers.
That's
crazy.
Awesome.
But that beer has brownie batter, coconut, cacao nibs, vanilla, Oreos, and I want to say there's one more sweet-ass adjunct in it. But we just did our so we've only done crowlers of those. So we did our first official bottle release, so batch 3, 2 weeks ago, and that sold out within minutes.
Yeah, I'd have drank that.
That's like the suicide. When you're 13 and you go to the 7-Eleven, you hit all the fountains.
Yeah, I'd have drank that shit.
I got a little bit of everything in there.
Nigel and I talk a lot about how you should never rate a beer bad.
No, it might not be your style. That don't mean you got to rate it bad.
So, I got to tell you,
it's okay to rate a beer bad if it's a bad beer. What people shouldn't do is rate beers based on styles that they like. So you see those comments, oh, I don't like IPAs, so I'm gonna give this a 2. Well, it's like you don't like IPAs, so why are you drinking it?
Yeah.
And 2, why are you rating it? Just so you can tick it, and if you want to tick it, then don't put a rating.
Yeah.
But you're just fucking off everybody else's rating. Oops, excuse me. You're just messing up everybody else's
you can say whatever you want on this show.
This is not a family show.
this is the one podcast I do. I get to push the button.
I get mad about that stuff. Especially being in San Antonio, because we'll come out with a popular style of beer, right? And you'll have your craft beer fanatics, 4.75s, 5s, 4.5s. But then you have those people that don't know anything about craft beer start coming in. This West Coast IPA is too bitter. Wait a second, it's a West Coast IPA.
That's what I hate about them too. Now I'm joking.
This doesn't taste like Bud Light.
Yeah, this pastry stout tastes like a pastry. Like, okay, well, it's a pastry stout. So different little things like that. But outside of that,
Well, I tell people all the time, I'm like, the craft beer is still, the people who are drinking it, it's still micro. It ain't macro. People are still drinking it. We're still in this lane. You know what I'm saying? We think we out there. We're not. That's why Twin Peaks is still in business with them cold ass mugs and shit. I'm like,
Exactly. You ain't even supposed to drink your beer that cold.
That's what I'm saying. I don't need 25 ounces of beer at once. What the hell?
Well, I'm going to say that this is one of 2 beers I will say I do not like.
But is it bad?
Like, man, it's pickles. It's bad.
It may not be your style. That don't mean it's bad. It's not the best pickle beer I've had, but I'm not going to rate it a 2. Hey, Marcus, dude, we appreciate you coming on here, man. I see you yawning over there.
You guys having me.
I know it's been probably a long couple of weeks for you, or however long it's been, but we're happy to participate in it. We're gonna send you some Windshift beers, and I've got 5 or 6 friends in town who are doing it. So we'll get you a care package.
Yeah, make sure I try whoever does.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say the Windshift one's gonna be the best. So I'm gonna put it out there right now.
All right, I'm expecting
it better be good.
Tony.
It will be.
And,
all right.
That beer's gonna be handled with care. Trust me, with Tony. Tony's helm.
Marcus, thanks for coming on, man, and congratulations on using your voice for this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate it, man. Yeah. And I'm gonna come holler at you in August. Like I said, I'll be down there. So.
All right, bro. Sounds good.
I'll come see you, man. Appreciate it, man. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, man.
All right, gentlemen. You guys have a great night.
You too, man. Peace.
You have been listening to Beers with Nigel, a show about beer and other stuff, hosted by Nigel Woodbury and that other guy, Nick Parker. Beers with Nigel is a proud member of the Fredcast Network, and it's available on your favorite podcast apps. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Beers with Nigel.